You're listening to Kaio Conversations, a podcast about anything and everything that matters to Chi Omegas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kaio Conversations, Chi Omega's official podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Harrington, CEO of Chi Omega, and today we are joined by time management coach and host of the It's About Time podcast, who also happens to be a Phi Gamma initiate from LSU and current Row Chapter Tulane House Corporation member, Sister Anna Kornick. Anna has become known for making time management fun, and she helps busy professionals struggling with burnout and overwhelm. Also known for her infectious energy from the stage, Anna has delivered keynote speeches and workshops to thousands across the country and partnered with organizations and companies like Chick-fil-A, LSU, Forbes, Better Homes and Gardens, and others. Anna, thank you so much for making time for us today, and welcome to Kaio Conversations.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor to spend time with you today.
Well, we're going to have fun. And now, Anna, I really want to pick your brain and help our listeners out there take away some expert advice from you on time management. So can you share just one small daily habit that could make a big difference in our productivity?
Absolutely. So the one daily tip, the one tweak that I would encourage you to consider would be incorporating a daily shutdown routine into your schedule. Now, might seem kind of interesting is, wait, Anna, isn't the shutdown at the end of the day? I thought we were talking about being productive during the day. So a daily shutdown routine is the last 15 or so minutes before you close out your workday. And if you work in the home, you can treat it the exact same way. The purpose of this mini routine, it's one of my 5 essential routines, by the way. Okay. The purpose of this mini routine is to help your brain transition from work brain to not work brain. You think about a lot of times at the end of the day, we work up until the final buzzer. I've got to get out of here. We slam the laptop shut, we walk out, but our brain is still thinking about everything that we just did. And we find that it's difficult to turn off. We keep thinking about the undone to-dos. We keep thinking about that email that we were supposed to respond to. Yeah. And then we start cycling through, well, what's happening tomorrow? And that abrupt end to our workday is exactly the reason why we struggle to be present in the evenings with our friends and family. And a workday shutdown is what solves that.
Well, it's interesting that you share that, because I have heard some of my colleagues complain even about a short commute because their brain doesn't have enough time to make the transition. And so I think it's the same principle, but you got to kind of dedicate some time. And it's not for the drive home, probably. It's probably just for some dedicated shutdown time at your desk so you can make the transition easier.
Exactly. And those of us who either work hybrid or work from home, having a shutdown routine is even more important. Yeah. Implementing this is so easy. You just remember the 3 Ps. You process what just happened today. What new tasks popped up that need to be captured and put somewhere? We process. Then we preview what's happening tomorrow. Or if it's Friday, what's on tap for next week? Because this is what calms that open loop in our brain of, wait, what am I doing tomorrow? Because we know we've taken a look. Right. And then the 3rd P is prepare. Is there anything that I can do right now that will help me feel prepared for tomorrow? Maybe it's sending a few last minute check-in emails. Maybe it's preparing an agenda for one of your meetings. Maybe it's pulling some quick research. Either way, when you process, preview, and prepare, it tells your brain, I'm done for the day. And it enables you to step into whatever your next phase is, feeling complete. It takes some practice, but it is so worth it.
What is the best way, Anna, to handle time themes like constant notifications or unexpected interruptions that come up throughout the day?
Oh, goodness. Those distractions are an epidemic. There's actually a stat that tells us that the typical American knowledge worker, so those of us who work at a desk behind a laptop, are interrupted by some type of digital notification, whether it's a buzz, a ping, a ding, a text message, an email, a Slack message, a Teams message, every 43 seconds.
Wow.
every 43 seconds on average. And when you consider that it takes an average of 27 minutes to completely focus or regain your focus after an interruption, Leslie, it is a wonder that we get anything done.
Seriously.
It's wild.
That is very
and so we have a few options. We can bring more awareness to the notifications and the interruptions, because let's be honest, not all interruptions are digital. Some come in the form of people, and that's okay. We need collaboration. But it's bringing awareness to what are my typical notifications, and do they bring me value? Do those notifications or interruptions bring me value? Because you might see an opportunity to do exactly what we need to do with our closets on occasion, which is purge. Maybe it's an opportunity to experiment with setting up Do Not Disturb. One of my favorite settings that comes with my smartphone is that every morning at 9 o'clock, it automatically shifts into work mode. And the only calls that can come through are my husband, the elementary school, and the preschool.
Nice.
That's it. Those are the only interruptions that are allowed during that working time frame. Everything else can wait.
So just shift those notifications to make them work for you with time management. They don't have to go away completely. They just need to be meaningful and purposeful, like you said at the very beginning.
Exactly. How is this bringing me value?
What do you think is the biggest contributing factor to burnout in our lives? And is it curable? Is it salvageable, or is it a lost cause once you're burnout?
Oh, that's such a great question, Leslie, because burnout it's just an absolute epidemic. And when I think about burnout, I actually like to take it a step back to overwhelm, because overwhelm is the step before burnout. Burnout is what happens when overwhelm is left unchecked and untreated. And it is my mission to help as many people, especially women, solve the overwhelm problem. And what I find is that overwhelm is not a result of working too many hours, which is what we tend to think. Instead, working too many hours is just a symptom. Overwhelm is caused by having too many projects open in our brains, in our project management systems. Overwhelm comes from dividing your energy in too many different directions. Because when we have 17 projects we're navigating at work, and at home we're planning 2 birthday parties, a vacation, and a hall bathroom renovation, and we're also volunteering in our community, and we've got responsibilities with the PTA at church, alumni association. Every single thing that we say yes to and that we're a part of takes up space in our brains.
Yeah.
And when our attention is being diverted in so many different directions, we're only able to make an inch of progress in any one direction at any given moment. And then as a result of so little progress, we feel like we're stuck.
Yeah.
We feel like we're working so hard and we're not getting anywhere because of that attention being diluted in so many different directions.
I feel that because so many times I feel like I'm doing so many things, but I'm not doing any of them well. And it's just because, like you said, I've got too many windows open. So
And it's hard because we get so many amazing opportunities to have fun or make an impact or be supportive or help someone. And we want to say yes to all of them, but not every yes is our best yes.
That's true. That's true. We've all seen that. For some of our chapter officers that are listening right now, if and when they reach a point of overwhelm, what is a good first step they could take to rectify it and get back to feeling in control? If you can just kind of break that down to the granular chapter level.
Absolutely. And, this is actually a technique that I used myself when I was in college. And now that I'm a time management coach, I've given it a name. It's called a mind sweep. So let me introduce you to the mind sweep. To do a mind sweep whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, all you need to do is either open up a doc or open up a notebook, grab something to write with, and get every single thing out of your head and onto paper. It does not have to be complete sentences or complete thoughts. You can have random combinations of nouns and verbs and adjectives, whatever. The whole point is that we want to sweep every corner of our minds to get everything out. Now, Leslie, some people like to call this technique a brain dump, but I just have never liked the way that sounded because it makes me envision taking the junk drawer in my kitchen and dumping it out on the floor. Everything's going to fly in every direction, and it just moves the mess from one place to another. But with a mind sweep, you're intentionally thinking, okay, what are my on-campus responsibilities? Okay, let me get this out. Okay, what are my intramural practices? What are my upcoming assignments? What are my chapter responsibilities? And when you think in terms of sweeping out each of these different categories, you come up with a much more thorough list. And then once you've got the list, now a lot of people will think, oh, well, that's overwhelming. Now I have to do all of these things. No, not necessarily. Just because our brain gives us these ideas of things to do does not mean that we have to do them. Now we're going to use what I call the clarity compass to sort them into 4 categories. And to do this, I want you to imagine drawing a line straight down on a piece of paper and then across the middle, left to right. So you've got this nice little 4-quadrant worksheet that you've created for yourself.
Okay.
In one corner, I want you to write must do. And then beside that, should do. And then below, we've got want to, and then we've got could do. So must do, should do, want to, and could do. Okay. And this is where we're going to take what we just swept up, our mind sweep, and we're going to start putting things into categories. And everything in that must-do list should be something that if you don't do it in the next 48 hours, there will be serious consequences, okay? Because we've got to decide what a must-do is. So if you don't do this, you got to be done. Should do. These are those things that, oh wow, this isn't a must-do, but I feel obligated to do it. Like I don't want to do this. This is typically the things that we say yes to without having our whole heart in the yes. The things that we've said yes to out of obligation. The things that end up taking our energy away from our best yeses. The want tos, these are the things that we just generally want to do. There's no obligation. There's no consequences. We just want to do it. And a lot of times these are the things that we don't do because we get caught up in the must-dos and the should-dos. And then we don't have time for the things that really fill our cup and bring us joy. So we've got to call these what they are. These are our want-tos. These are going to give us energy. And then we've got our could-dos. And what are these? Why are they even here? Because these are the things that pop up in our head and we capture them in the mind sweep, and they're not incredibly important. And I don't feel like I should do them, and I don't really want to do them, but they're just there.
Yeah.
And you know what? You don't have to do those. We don't have to do everything just because it pops into our head. And so taking that mind sweep, really figuring out what your must-dos are, that's going to tell you exactly where to focus your time and then pull from that want-to list when you need an energy boost.
Now, Anna, we have come to the most important part of the podcast, and that is your Chi Omega experience. So tell us, when you went through recruitment at LSU, what was it that made you feel like Chi Omega was worth your time?
Oh my goodness. I will never forget walking through the doors of the Chi Omega house on Ice Water Day of Rush, because Chi Omegas at LSU, and maybe this happens at every chapter, they yell your name as you walk in the door. And you walk in and it is this cacophony of singing and snapping. And as you're walking through the line, they're like, hey, Anna. And it gives me chills to even think about it, because it occurred to me like, oh, wait, you knew I was coming?
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
And it just, that introduction made me feel so special. And it was this feeling on the very first day, because Chi was actually the second to last. There were 10 sororities at LSU back in 2003.
Right.
And Chi was the second to last house that I walked into. And I walked in and I was like, okay, oh yeah, I think these are my people. I think these are my people. And every single woman that I spoke with was in like 4 different activities.
Wow.
Which spoke to my heart as the, overachieving high schooler who wanted to continue being active and involved in college. And I mean, they knew just who to introduce me to and just make me feel like I had met my people. It was awesome. It also helped a little bit that I was incredibly involved in the National FFA organization as a high schooler. And the owl is a very important emblem within National FFA. So that felt meant to be as well.
Well, thank goodness for that owl and those Phi Gammas. I knew they were good, but just hearing it just makes me Phi Gamma, you've lived up to your own hype. I mean, they knew you were coming. They had studied you, sister. When you became a Chi Omega member, were there any habits or skills you learned during your time in Chi Omega that still help you manage your time today?
I would say that out of necessity, I discovered time blocking. When I was in college. Time blocking, which is just creating blocks in your schedule that represent how you'll spend your time. Because not only was I a student and involved in Chi Omega, I also had an on-campus job and an evening off-campus job taking photos at parties, which was a lot of fun. And I was also I was involved in student government and just so many different activities on campus that without creating very, you could say like specific times in my schedule to study for this class or study for the LSAT or do this or do that, it would not have happened. And so I would say that while I didn't necessarily learn time blocking at a chapter meeting, just being in an organization surrounded by other women who valued making an impact, learning how to arrange my life and organize my life in order to do that, in order to make the impact that I wanted to make, it arose from that. It inspired that.
Yes, we made you even busier. So you had to create self-appointments with yourself so that you could get everything you needed to get done.
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
Right, exactly. I remember my friends would always see, I had this Franklin Covey planner. It was this green pebbled leather planner that was, green was my color back then. It's now blue, but everything was green. And they called, all right, Anna and Franklin are here. We can get started.
Anna and Franklin, they never travel apart.
Right.
That's great. Well, Anna, thank you so much for making an appointment with us today and carving out your very valuable time in your busy life for us today. Your advice on protecting our most valuable asset, our time, has been truly a treat. And I want to know, do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom you want to share with our podcasters before we let you go?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a treat. I've loved reflecting on my time in Chi Omega leading up to this conversation and even now. And I think the most important thing that I want to leave with all of you listening is the word legacy, but maybe not in the way that you might think, because a lot of times when we hear legacy, we think about those coming after us. Yeah. But instead, I want you to think about your legacy. How is it that you want to be remembered? Whether it's how you want to be remembered in your chapter, how you want to be remembered on campus. And for those of you who are alums, how do you want to be remembered through the impact that you make, but more importantly, the way that you make people feel? Because that is truly the legacy that we have the ability to leave. And the way that you spend your time will enable you to leave a legacy that you're proud of.
That is so important. We're putting a spin on legacy today and remembering our values and managing our time so that we can show up with intention and do just that, leave a great legacy, no matter what our purposes are. Thank you, sister, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in today and listening today. I hope you'll take Anna's words to heart and that they help you reclaim some of your valuable time back in your lives so that you can then use it to watch more of our podcast. We've still got some more amazing episodes ahead for you this season. So as always, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss out on our next Kyle Conversation. I'll see you next time.